where is it? He meets her in this one after she's had a miscarriage and befriends her and falls in love with her. And please hit the like and subscribe. Please, please hit that thumbs up. Please, 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 please. This is the D. Louise Book Series channel. This is where we read book, talk about books, no special effects, no genius, none of that fancy stuff going on here. Come on, share the love, please. All right, so she says, read this book. You'll like it. You give a book to a woman. She has a miscarriage because these guys did stuff to her. You don't give a book to a girl who's had a miscarriage, who actually had to give birth to her child and hold her child as her child died in her arms because it was 2 weeks short of lungs. And because of the time frame, maybe today, nowadays technology, my child might have lived. But back then, no go. And it's one of those what if, shoulda, coulda, woulda situations that will haunt me to the rest of my life. Come here. Look. I caught a fish. I caught a catfish. What do you think? Hello. Then, where is it? He marries her and takes her home to mother. And his mother's like, she's below us. It's a class situation. She doesn't even take the time to get to know the chick. She's below us. It's like a racist situation. She's not of our color. She's not of our race. She's not of our ethnic background. It could be any reason in the whole world. His mother rejects her. Because, get that stuff out of my presence. I don't want that stuff in my presence. So we spend the whole book trying to warm up to the whole community, the surrounding people, stuff like that. So that's what leads us to book 3, The Sharing Knife Passage. And I've got some notes here. They're still newly married, and they're still trying to get along with each other, and they're still trying to forge the prejudices within their groups. And so they just part on their honeymoon, and her brother goes with them. Why do you take your brother on your honeymoon? And they go on the flatboat, and it's captained by Barry, a woman searching for her missing family members, so they want to help her do that. And Dagwood's healing powers, knowledge of his healing powers is spreading. And they're gaining new novice lake walker patrollers and skilled hunters. And they're breaking traditions. So we have Dag, of course, and Fawn. And then we have Wit, her brother. And Barry, the flatboat captain. Hod, the troubled youth who's healed by Dag and becomes friends with. Renegade Lake Walker leads the band of criminals that challenges Dag. And Lake Walker patrollers, the idealistics that are trying to change the world and expand their environment. And there's a lot of misunderstanding. I mean, because the culture and the different things that are going on with the family and such, and the surrounding community. But the most important thing that happens here is the fact that he shows his secrets to the world. See if I can find it now. But, see. Adler's hand made a futile gesture and fell to his side. He stretched his mouth in a smile as Hawthorne came bolting out of the hatch with a yell of glee. The boy might have hugged Alder if Barry hadn't already held that space with no sign of giving it up. As it was, he danced around the pair, whopping. Fawn and Bo followed a less violent pace. Curious Remo dodged the crowd by hoisting himself up the back deck and strolling forward to watch. As the cries of greeting swirled Adler, his skiff mate looked up and spotted Remo. Adler, there's a lake walker on here boat. We have to leave off. You know Crane don't want us to mess with no lake walkers. Adler stared up at the row of spectators lining the edge of the cabin roof. He drew a short breath. No, Skink, there's two. That tall one haircut fooled me at a distance. Adler's lips wordlessly. He swallowed and found at least a few. I'm so sorry, Barry. The Briar Rose sank in a storm near here last winter. I was the only one got off. Some fellows from a hunting camp up the elbow picked me up off the shore. Nearly dead. I was sick for weeks. Lung fever. By the time I got better, there was no sign of the boat but a few boards caught in a tow head. The river took the rest. Are you sure? Barry asked. They might have got downstream of you and thought you lost. No, they would have sent word somehow. Hawthorne's hopeful face crumpled. Barry folded in one arm. Shush, Hawthorne. We always knew, didn't we, Papa and Blackthorn, that they wouldn't have left us without saying unless, well, why no word, Adler. It was so cruel to us. I thought... Wait a second. I thought it was here. Bar and Remo both took that in immediately. Dad could tell by way their ground snapped shut like muscles. A renegade, a madman, a malice's pawn. Where did he come from? Dad pressed relentlessly. Don't know. He was here already when I came along. Alina somewheres, I guess. Did he start the gang? No. Fellow Brewer, I said. Was Brewer a lake walker? Surely not. That was that name. No, course not. Before me, Adler Crane was a passenger on a down-bound flatboat that Brewer lured into the tavern. Somehow he talked Brewer out of killing him, and then he was Brewer's right-hand man for a time. And then no more Brewer, just Crane. Brewer, they say he just wanted to get filthy rich, but nobody can figure out what Crane wants. Is he alone? No, there's about 40 or 30 of us depending. I mean, no other lake walkers with him. Oh yeah, alone, like that, I guess. Where is he right now? Do you know? Where is that thing? I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I found it. Flanked by Remo, Dag exited the cave and dragged his hand over his numb face. The groundwork on the Silver Shoals fellow cut neck was holding, and Chicory had opened his eyes a while ago, swallowing a mouthful of water, complained that his head hurt like fire, and pissed in a pot, all good signs, then fallen back into something more than resembled sleep than blackout. In the meanwhile, however, one of the flat boatmen, not the papa or the son, thankfully, had died unexpectedly when a deep knife cut his friend had thought was staunched and opened again beneath his bandages, and blood filled his lungs. If I had been there, I might have saved him, but if Dag had been there, he wouldn't have been at the fetch, and others would surely have perished. If I were 10,000 men everywhere at once, I could save the world all by myself. Yeah. Dag shook his head, grateful to Fawn for speaking him those extra hours of sleep. because that last blow atop his fatigue might have shattered him else. He had an old, deep aversion to losing those who follow him in trust. They weren't following you, they were following Wayne and trickery. Dad considered the argument dubiously for those who had aimed Wayne and trickery after all, but it was bandage enough on his brain for now. Unsettling, Dag nodded around the circle. Fellows, he didn't add anything hazard polite, like what can I do for you? He squatted to avoid looming, and after an uncertain glance at each other, Bart and Romeo copied him. There's a problem come up with the bandits and this lake walker of theirs. We agreed the farmers would look to the farmers and lake walkers to the lake walkers. Luckily, we caught Crane early this morning while he was trying to get Adler on the fetch. Gesturing a bar, Bear Bait said, Yeah, your boy here told us that tale. I hear you big and little drum goes so far, I. Thing is, Wayne, some of these here bandits are claiming they shouldn't ought to be hanged because they couldn't help what they did. They were forced to it by Crane's sorcery. Yeah, and once one of them claimed it, they all took up that chorus. What a surprise. And you entertained that argument for more than 5 seconds? Bear Bait frowned. Are you saying they aren't none of them beguiled and mind-bogged? Because some of them seem more than a bit away to me. Where is it? I am not doing this right. I am just messed up. Hold on. All right, then let's talk about something you do understand. Let's talk salvage rights, which you all were divvying up a prospect a while back. I claim this knife as my salvage. He finished the bone blade from his shirt, twisted the cord over his head, and held it up. This knife and its priming. Slate brows flicked up. That alone? He inquired in a very leading tone, quick to scent a bargain those silver-shouled fellows. Green up too looked intrigued, if mentally recalculating something. I don't speak for Bart and Remo, who also put their lives in the balance for this last name. As some of you may remember, this is just for me. Oh, sure, give the patroller his knife if that's all he wants. It's priming, for any of you who don't realize what I'm talking about. Although when this day is over, I swear you will understand it through and through. Will be Crane's mortality, Crane's heart, death, which he will pledge to it. Faces screwed up around the circle in deep misgiving. Breaking the silence, Bear Bait drew breath. The other patrollers can make their claims as may be, but give the medicine maker whatever due share he asks. That'll be a lifelong lesson to them. Least a few around the circle squirked their lips in some slight sympathy to his apparition. I don't get it. I thought I had it. Yes, ma'am. Dag returned to the fetch, trying to remember everything he'd seen Dar do to prepare for his knife binding. Sharing knife makers generally, he reflected, were sheltered in the center of most camps, in the most protected and private of spaces, in the heart of Lake Walker life. He would be returning that heart inside out. He told his shadow, Bar, and Remo to go find something to do for half an hour, because any hint less broad would have not taken and led Fawn out into the back deck as nearest they could manage for a scrap of privacy. There he explained what he meant to try. Dar, anything I expect you to do better. Because I'm not just making a knife. I plan to make it a demonstration of Lake Walker groundwork for every boatman here who I can get to look and listen. You could leave before I actually prime the knife. You wouldn't need to watch that part. But you know it's not impossible, if I am to be a true Lake Walker's kinswoman, that such a task might fall to me some day. It would be the worst thing to botch I can imagine. Don't you think I'd better watch and learn how it's done? Dag had the litter carriers positioned crane in the middle of the scree, just a few paces from the shore, hard aside toward the river so that the 60 or so boatmen could stand or sit on the slope that rose toward the cave and all hear and get a clear view. Whit, Wayne, and two other keelers set down the litter and retrieved Wayne's poles. Whit retreated to one side to wait with Berry. Remo and Barr sat a little away off the other, at a deliberate distance chosen by Dag to mark them as witnesses, not participants. Dag folded a blanket for his knees and fawns on Crane's far side, where they would not block the boatman's view. She knelt and looked up at him expectantly. The boatman crunched around the rocks of the incline, finding positions hunkering or sitting. Dag stood up, raised his voice to carry the edge of the crowd again. Yes, ma'am. Come here. 396. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. We're reading the story here. First, I have to explain about ground and lake ground sense. Ground is everything, underlies everything, live or inert. But live ground is brightest. You all have ground in you, but you don't sense it. He made this explanation so many times down this valley that it felt as smooth as stones in a stream bed. Ground sense malices that last caught any attention still drifting loose. The youngsters took it for tale, the elders who seemed light for an eye-opener. The Raintree men who brushed up against the malice war nodded and exchanged murmurs, both amongst themselves and with their various neighbors. Dag's rattling chain of words came to the secret heart of things. He pitched his voice up again. The creation of sharing knives is considered the most demanding of Lake Walker makings, and the most his tongue hovered a moment on secret, but chose instead private. The knives are carved from bones, Lake Walker bones, willed as gifts, not robbed from graves, and not ever, despite rumors, stolen farmers' bones. These are legacies from our kin. The gifting is a solemn part of our funeral customs. Also the messy part, but he wasn't going to get into that yet, because now the most essential and questionable part of today's desperate lesson. He drew the bone knife from the sheath at his neck and handed it to Fawn, who rose to take it. My wife Fawn is going to go around amongst you and show you a real sharing knife. Fawn moved amongst the crowd, overseeing the knife being passed back and forth. Dag found his voice again and went on. We found this knife lost in the cave cache with those Lake Walker furs. We figured some Lake Walker maker in Raintree made it from thigh bone of one of his or her camp kin. No telling whose. There was no identifying writing burned on his blade, as there sometimes is. It was bonded to a Lake Walker woman who was murdered by these river bandits just about on the spot where I am now standing. The knife makers don't just shape the surface of the bone when it's carved, they also shape its ground, both naturally as its nature changes from bone to knife, and through groundwork to prepare for its next task, which is to hold a Lake Walker's mortality as if sealed in a battle. The knife was already dedicated like that, but some groundwork and boiling water earlier today, I cleaned out the unused bonding. This is now a bone blank, same as if it just came from the carver's hand. So the next step I have to show you is the new bonding. The knife to cut open the vein would be heated to prevent infection. There would be several refinements that Dag recalled from the time he bonded to Kuno's knife that were just not needed here. In a moment of wild panic, Dag wondered whether he could fake it if this didn't work. Stab Crane with the useless blade before he complained and pretend to his audience that he'd actually made and bonded a true knife. Then he found himself settling cross-legged more comfortably. As for healing, he glanced at Fawn and relieved her of one concern. He can't feel a thing anywhere below his neck. He can't hurt him. He tipped the bone knife down Crane's arm as Fawn, holding the dead weight a little awkwardly, took Dag's war knife and scored a deep cut on the pale surface of skin, squeezing it to make it bleed and drip. Then Dag dropped down into the other world, an inner essence seen from the inside, close up, the material world, the light of the afternoon. Dag extended the ghost hand beneath the vivid stream, casting his mind back over the involution he'd known best, the one in his own pledged knife, which he made for him by the maker in Luthia. He had himself unmade it in Raintree as part of breaking the Malice's deadly ground lock. The involution was the knife maker's greatest gift, the cupped hands to hold the offered mortality. He pulled back, parting from that piece of himself he turned into a cup for Crane, and gasped in astonishment. Oblight, I didn't know it was going to hurt this much. He watched in horrified fascination as his ghost hand tore away from the part of itself caught in the knife. It felt like biting off his own finger. Ye gods, and Dar went through this every time he bonded a knife. Brother, I beg your forgiveness. I will leave you to read the rest of it yourself. And I guess we will be on to the final book. Maybe his mom will accept him. Maybe the people will accept him by that point. He's sharing a sacred ceremony. We'll see what happens. Have a good one.